Hey there, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Tamilore Adewoye, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to make 2024 your best year ever. You might see me look down a couple times because I have my laptop right in front of me. I just want to check some things just to ensure that I'm in sync with what I want to share with you. So if you're looking to make 2024 your best year ever, then stick to the end of this video because I have a lot of insights to share with you. If you find this video really nice and helpful at the end, don't forget to like, share, and drop the most helpful part in the comment, and I'll be happy to make more videos in the future. And it's a new year and a lot of people are making plans about what they really want to do in 2024. And if you're on social media like myself, let's say Twitter for example, you would have seen so many people talk about, oh, in 2024 I want to do this, in 2024 I want to do that. Just way too many plans, and in the end, just like every other year, people end up not doing those things they said they were going to do. They ended up not sticking with their plans. And the reason for this is not far-fetched. People just like to talk. They just want to join the head, right? So they find a lot of people on social media talking about their plans and they feel inferior when they don't do theirs as well. So they're only talking just because they're a part of a bandwagon. If you've been part of those people, it's not a big deal. Some of those things you've said, now you have to find ways to make it happen. I know you want to make this year better for yourself than the previous years, but the truth is the only thing that really changed between 31st December 2023 and the 1st January 2024 is the date, nothing else. You did not change, a lot of things did not change, just the date changed. You're going to achieve anything different, or if you're going to do anything spectacularly well in the year 2024, then you have to change. There are a number of things you have to focus on and actually do to execute it. Let's talk about the few things you might have to pay attention to if you want to make this year better than the previous years you've had. Firstly, you need to talk less and do more. One of the things that kills like a lot of people out there is they talk way too much. And the problem with talking about your plans, it happens to me as well. So when you talk a lot, there's something called mental masturbation. Your brain feels like a result has been achieved or an action has been taken, and that's why you're talking about it. So there's really no motivation, or I like to call it ginger, for the brain to want to go after that goal anymore. And let's be honest, in this age and time that we live in today, there is a lot of distraction out there. So your brain would rather just want to do the easy things like scrolling through social media, gisting with friends, and doing the unproductive things. So that means if you are really going to achieve anything spectacular this year, you need to stop that urge to talk so that your brain stops feeling like this thing has been done. Instead of talking, what can you do? There are two things I've noted that you can do this year that can actually put you on the right track. And the first one is doing what we call affirmation. When it comes to affirmation, it's just basically a sentence or like a few words put together and you saying what you want to do. And now you're not saying it to the public, unlike the other one that like gives you that sense like, oh, I've done this. Because when it comes to mental masturbation, after you've told a lot of people that, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, you would hear comments that says things like, oh, this sounds like a good plan, you're on the right track, and then it gives your brain like that satisfaction. But when it comes to affirmation, you're talking to yourself, you're reinforcing a belief, you're reinforcing that ideology and thing you really want to do into your mind, and your mind begins to conceive it, and then you also start putting effort into doing it, right? And another thing you want to do beyond just doing affirmations is actually writing things down. You can put down notes of the things you want to do this year, the things you want to achieve. Write these things down. Oh, I want to make $1 million before the end of 2024. Or I want to travel to 20 countries before the end of 2024. Write down your goals. It also helps you stay on track. But when it comes to writing or still doing the word of affirmation, it only takes a matter of time for you to also lose track. Just like I talked about people making New Year resolutions, talking on Twitter, Instagram, and all that. And then you would see a lot of people heading to the gym in the first week of the year. They're like, oh, I want to have a great body this year. I want to stop drinking alcohol this year. I want to stop drinking soda this year. And they stick to that for maybe the first 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, they go back to their old ways because it really wasn't the part of them. They were just doing it for the moment. It was more like a spur of the moment, right? So if you want to make your affirmations or the things you've written down also stick better, one thing you can do is you want to place cues around yourself, right? So when I say place cues around yourself, it is basically putting things that would help you achieve those things around you. So let's say, for example, you choose not to drink soda anymore this year. If you have soda in your fridge at home, it is only a matter of time before you start getting tempted to drink soda again, right? So you can only endure the temptation for a little while. But if you choose not to drink soda anymore, you throw everything soda out of your house. Even before you eventually go on to take soda, it would require some effort from your end. And before you eventually give in to putting that effort, your brain might just remind you of, oh, this is what I want to do. But when it comes to affirmation, one thing I also like to do is writing those things, like I've said, and then putting them around my room. Let's say you choose to travel to 20 countries this year. You can write it and put it at your doorstep and say, I want to travel to 20 countries this year. So every morning when you wake up, that's like the first thing you see. Oh, I want to travel to 20 countries this year. Your brain starts reinforcing it. So except you're being mischievous, you wouldn't pull it out, right? And one way that I've seen us do this affirmation and writing down things and how it really impacts us was like growing up. While growing up in church, if you're a Christian, you might be able to relate to this better. While growing up, we used to have this thing called watchword, right? So it's like a sentence or a few sentences put together, and you have to recite it every time you say a prayer, like let's say in the morning or in the evening, all through the year. And somehow you would find yourself, you would have memorized that stuff, and your brain somehow just unconsciously depicts those stuffs in the watchword, right? And in the year 2024, I was actually, coming into the year 2024, I was actually putting around cues, putting things on my walls and on the wall in my room, basically just to remind me of those things I really want to achieve this year, right? And while I was doing all of those things, I got a mail from one of my mentors called Tonyo Motosho, and he put together a watchword for 2024, and that sort of resonated really well with me, and I decided to make it my watchword as well, and I'm going to tell you about it. It just sounds like I'm going against the advice I gave you initially about not saying your plans, right? Because it's mental masturbation, but this is for educational purposes, and I feel if you can also adopt this watchword, it might really help you do a whole lot more than you expect to do this year. So I'm going to read it for you, right? It says, this year 2024, I'm going to commit to doing the painful and difficult things I usually run away from, the things that scare me, for it is in doing the difficult things that true progress is going to happen to me. So help me God. So I know for a fact that one of the things that has affected me over the last few years, even though I've been able to make some progress here and there, is that doing those difficult things can be hard in anything I choose to do, and I'm just going to excel really well. So this year I'm committing to doing the difficult things I usually run away from, the things that scare me. I'm going to kill the fear in me, for it is in doing these difficult things that true progress is going to happen for me. So basically that's my watchword. You can craft yours, you can adopt another person's own, you can adopt this, and it would go a long way for you. And this is just a story, so I don't keep this too long, right? I know in 2016, when I was going to get into the university back then, I wrote these things down. So I was going to get into the university 2017 beginning. So at the end of 2016, I wrote like my goal for 2017, and I wrote there that, I wanted to graduate in the university with a first class, right? So I wrote it down, and I sort of reinforced it for like a few months. Just like I told you, you most likely might also lose track. It happens, it's not a big deal, although you should try your best. At that point, I didn't know about putting cues in the room, maybe making it my screensaver on my laptop or on my phone, so that way I almost never forget about it, right? But after a few months, I forgot about it, but somehow it was already reinforced in my head. So I knew that I wanted to graduate school with first class. And then I have it in my Google Notes, it was there. And then a few years after, in 2019, when I made like my first million, I also wrote at the end of 2018 that, I wanted to make my first million in 2019. Then it was also in my Google Notes. In 2020, I also wrote a goal that I wanted to travel to like a few countries. 2021, I also wrote those goals down, and I always have them in my Google Notes, right? And sometime in 2023, I just sat down one day and I was looking for something. I can't remember what I was looking for, but somehow I opened my Google Notes and I went to all of those past stuff, and somehow all of those goals and visions I had, I've been able to achieve all of them. And to be honest, I actually started crying. I actually started like looking through all of those things and how basically writing those things down reinforced it in me, and I was able to achieve all of those things that I really wanted to achieve. And this takes me to my next point, which is self-discipline. You can write down everything you want to write down. You can pin everything you want to pin to your wall. You can say all the affirmations in the world. But if you don't have self-discipline, you're never going to achieve your goals. So this year, you have to be super disciplined. A lot of people actually mean very well for themselves. I mean, who doesn't want to succeed? Like, I wouldn't say, oh, I want to fail. Like, I've not met anyone in this world that has said, oh, I want to be a failure. Everyone wants to succeed, right? So when you find people not succeeding, it's not because they don't want to succeed. It's because they couldn't stay disciplined doing those difficult things. And without the discipline, success would be out of reach. If you want to bring your plans to life, you need to stop doing the easy things, right? The easy things like your phone, picking up your phone and scrolling through social media. When I wanted to pick up the camera and record this video, I didn't feel like it, but I had to stand up and do it, because to be honest, I even made this video yesterday, but I didn't make it well. So I am having to remake the video again. Sometimes those are the things that comes with self-discipline. Even when you don't feel like doing it, you have to always do it. And there's this thing I found on Twitter by Tony Omotosho again. And he put it out and he said, it was talking about self-discipline. And he said, the majority of what you have achieved and not achieved in this life is based on one thing: self-discipline. And the best way to describe self-discipline is doing those things you have to do when you have to do it, whether you feel like it or not. And when I read that, it was so profound to me. And it reminded me of my days back in the university, right? When we were starting a new semester, you would find a lot of students out there saying things like, oh, this semester I'm going to improve my grades, this semester I'm going all out, this semester I'm doing this, and they say all the plans just like the way you most likely have done as regards entering the new year, right? Everyone puts together the plan, and then suddenly we start going to classes, and after the first week they're like, oh, I really don't have to start reading yet, I'll start by the third week, and somehow they keep procrastinating and the tests start coming in. They already have a lot of notes to read, they do this and they really can't catch up anymore, and they end up with average results, right? Unlike the other guys who start doing those things from day one. They start building up the intensity right from the first day the semester starts. They make their first notes on the first day of resumption. They make their first recording on the other day of resumption. They do this, and basically they put everything that they have to do together. By the end of the semester, they don't have to do anything like crash reading. And these guys kill it. They do kill it fully well. Like, they kill it fully well. And this thing about self-discipline also now leads me to the next thing I want to talk about, which is clarity, right? You can't be self-disciplined about something you are not so passionate about achieving, right? If you don't have a goal in mind that you're so focused on, if you don't have a vision in mind that you're so particular about achieving, you really cannot be disciplined about it. It's just a matter of time before you fall off, because it is that vision, it is that goal that drives you. And the only way you can really start pushing those goals is if you have clarity. You need to pay attention to having clarity in 2024. If you're not clear about what you intend to achieve, it is going to be near impossible to achieve those things that you desire. It is as simple as ABC. And as a matter of fact, the best way for you to achieve anything this year is by having focus. And the unfortunate thing is you actually can't have focus if you don't have clarity. So you need to get clarity and then focus, right? And you have to quit trying to do everything. You want to become this, you want to do this, and somehow you drain all your energy. See, in 2024, you need to have at the back of your mind that your energy and time are the two most limited resources that you have. So you need to only expend them on the things that matter. So if it doesn't really matter, don't commit your time or energy into it. Only pick one or two things, just a few things, and commit all of your time, energy, and effort to it. And you would see the tremendous growth you're going to have in the year 2024. When I was reading about the whole clarity, energy, focus thing, I found this tweet by this guy called Robert Greene, right? And he explained focus in a certain way that I like. And I'm going to read it from here. He said, "You must avoid at all costs the idea that you can manage learning several skills at a time. You need to develop your powers of concentration and understand that trying to multitask will be the death of the process." There is a popular saying by one of my mentors, I think it was Ronald, and he talked about how you can chase two rabbits and catch both, right? So that means if you choose to chase two rabbits this year, you will most likely catch none. So if you really want to have something in hand at the end of the year, then focus on chasing one rabbit and you most likely catch it. But if you focus on chasing two things, you most likely have none at the end of the year, and you might just end up ending 2024 just the way you did your 2023 or your 2022 or those years where you've not made as much progress. If you have looked over the years at the things you've been able to achieve, whether it comes to education, finance, and all that, you would see that sacrifice is a key thing. And this is one thing you also want to put a lot of effort and energy into doing in 2024. You need to sacrifice. You need to sacrifice. If you want something so bad, then you must be really ready to give away something else to get it. And this life is a transactional world, whether you like to hear it or not, right? And in economics, we call this opportunity cost, right? It is the alternative forgone. So if you want to lose weight, then you have to let go of the junk food. If you want to make more money, then you have to use your time better. That means you have to stop playing around with friends and spending your time in the most ridiculous ways, right? And the truth is, you really cannot reap where you've not sown. So if you don't sacrifice, you can't get the results that you really desire, because sacrifices are a crucial part of life. And if you are a person of faith, you would have read from literally all the scriptures out there how people had to make sacrifices to get things done. You would have seen yourself, sometimes you have exams, you sacrifice your sleep to read, right? That is a sacrifice. So what are you willing to trade in or sacrifice for those goals, desires, visions that you have for 2024? You need to be ready to go all out and put the sacrifice. And if you've listened to the stories of like rich people and wealthy people, or let's say very successful people out there, right? Because we've had a lot of successful people that are not necessarily rich, right? But if you listen to their stories, you'll find out that those people actually made a lot of sacrifices. You would see all these monks. They are like spending hours meditating, clearing their head, not talking to people. You would see nuns not having sex. You would see a lot of sacrifices being made as regards achieving a certain goal. So if you really have a goal you want to achieve this year, then be ready to make the sacrifices. And one thing that I also want to talk about when it comes to sacrifices is this. If you start to evaluate the results that you want to get and the sacrifices you have to make, you might stop along the way, because sometimes the sacrifices might actually scare you, right? So one thing you also want to do this year is you want to stop overthinking things, because if you actually overthink things a lot, you would most likely run away from making the sacrifice. And there was this post one of my friend Etomi made on Twitter, right? And it really reinforces the part where, as much as sacrifices are crucial, you don't want to know how much sacrifice you need to make right from the beginning. And he used this analogy. It's a biblical analogy about the children of Israel and how they spent 40 years in the wilderness on their way to Canaan. Is it Canaan? I'm not so good with the Bible. But like how they spent 40 years on their way from Egypt to Canaan. Yeah. If they had known that they would have spent 40 years, I can bet you the children of Israel would have stayed in Egypt and they would have remained in captivity. But because they thought they were going to get to Canaan quickly, they embarked on the journey and they started making the sacrifice. Even at some point along the journey, you would see, if you've read the Bible, they chose to actually return. They were even telling their leader, oh, just take us back to Egypt. But because there was a will and there was an end goal in mind, they kept pushing and they eventually got to the promised land, but it took them freaking 40 years. That's a lot of sacrifice that they didn't even plan for. So I know I've talked about a lot of things, but you have to obsess about your goal and the destination you're looking to get so much that your sacrifice wouldn't really matter as much to you as you go. Like I said, it might weigh you down, but the goal and the vision that you are obsessed about would keep pushing you till you get to that final place. So I'm going to end this video by saying, if you want 2024 to be an amazing year, you have to keep things stupidly simple. And when I say stupidly simple, this is what I mean. Simply hit the ground running. Start by doing the small things. Don't try to overwhelm yourself. And once you hit the ground running, keep running. Know that the year 2024, if you're going to achieve anything, it is not going to be a sprint. It is not a 100-meter or 200-meter race. It is a marathon. That means it is going to be a long one. This year has about 365 or 366 days, so it's going to be a long one. So if you're looking to do really well, then you must be willing to play the long-term game this year. And I trust you're going to do really well with it. And you know, I talked about focus, I talked about clarity, I talked about sacrifices and all those things. And after looking through all of those things, I found this book that I felt would really help me, because all those things I've said as well, yeah, I do them already, but I want to also improve on them. And I found this book by Cal Newport. You can check it out on Amazon. It's called Deep Work. If you are an employee, I don't know if it would work as much, but if you run your own small business and all that, you want to commit time to doing deep work, and this book would be of great help to you. I just started reading it as well, and I feel you should grab a copy and read it as well. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share with your friends on your other social media channels, and I'll be making more videos for you. And see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.